From this presentation, we're talking about the failure of Pramuka Saving and Development Bank, and we are from group number 19, and we can continue from now onwards. Prasad, over to you. You can start from the introduction.
Thank you, Kavilu. Pramuka Savings and Development Bank was established operation in Sri Lanka in 21st of June 1997. Mr. Rohan Pereira was the founder of the Pramuka Bank. Rohan Pereira appealed for the lease to study commercial bank, but CBSL only favored him leasing to run a serving and development bank. CSDB provides its consumers with savings and deposit plans, credit, credit facilities, and other banking services. There was no uh, regulatory structure in place for the private sector service bank at the time. Next one. Several corporations have collapsed in Sri Lanka as a result of poor corporate governance standards, causing widespread dissent and sting among uh, investment stakeholders as a result. Good corporation governance system. Furthermore, it contributes to a company's image by promoting good governance. Governance. Uh, Pramuka Bank is crisis in 2002. This was the first time bank was removed and there were a large number of the bank and financial sector. The first banking failure in the country had a number of major negative impact on the financial sector and the economic as a whole, including the loss of confidence in the banking system and public concern about the security of their deposit with other financial contribution. Thank you. My part is over. I like to invite Sasi to continue our presentation.
Thank you, Prasad. Overview of the company. Pramuka Savings and Development Bank is the first private savings bank in Sri Lanka. Mr. Rohan Pereira was the general manager of Ceylon Bank, and after resigning from Ceylon Bank, he started the Pramuka Savings and Development Bank with a collaboration of some Ceylon Bank directors. Mr. Rohan Pereira and his colleagues applied for a license on 1996 to operate a commercial bank from Central Bank of Sri Lanka. In 1997, they got license and he started operations in 21st July 1997 as a savings bank with the name of Pramuka Savings and Development. Now we can do the rest of presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sasi. I am also going to talk about overview of the company. Uh, Mainly, they aim the poor boroughs in the village, and within first 5 years, they reached to the peak steadily, and they had commenced their operations through various sectors such as savings, loan schemes, deposits, credit facilities, and other services as well. And they had the license to operate only as a saving and development bank. In October 2002, the license of Pramuka Bank was suspended. And finally, in December 2002, they had to winding up the bank due to some issues with it. Next, I would like to invite Lakshi to continue our presentation.
Thank you, Vikum. Nature of the failure. The board failed to comply with the regulatory requirements imposed by CBSL on regulators. Both parties ignore each other's needs, which led to a major failure. To the employees, the directors transferred the contribution of the EPF to an unapproved internal fund which was later invested in the Pramuka Bank. As a result, nearly 160 employees lost their retirement benefits. Next one, the staff of the Pramuka Bank concealed important information from the auditors and resorted to misleading arbitration by dragging out to the journal of account and journal related to the accounting of interest income. Next slide. If the PSDB board took decisions after evaluating the interest of the stakeholders, such a massive corporate failure should have been avoided. Next one. The chairman and other directors acted as an allied class dominating the internal and external affairs of the bank. That was one of the reasons for the collapse of the bank. Because of the chairman's banking experience and knowledge of innovative thinking and the banking industry, others trusted him and never opposed his decisions. This is also one of the reasons. Failure to maintain the positive asset ratio at the level of 20% and submit the audited funds to the Banking Supervision Division of CBSL on the due date. The last one, CBSL did not allow PSDB to expand its branch network to repay defaulted loans by mortgaging pledged property. Thank you. I would like to invite Nipuni to continue our presentation.
Thank you, Lakshi. My part is the parties that were involved. First part is the chairman and CEO of the Pramuka Bank. Mr. Rohan Pereira was chairman of the Pramuka Bank at that time. The separation of the post of board chairman and CEO is the one of important tasks in the successful of corporate governance framework. This helped to avoid any potential conflicts of interest. In Pramuka Bank, Mr. Rohan Pereira held both position of chairman and CEO. Therefore, it strongly influenced to the collapse of Pramuka Bank. Alves, as well as chairman of the Pramuka Bank, failed to carry out the board responsibilities and obtain full and activity participation from all directors. Next slide. Uh, Board of the directors. As a board of the directors must accept liability and accountability for the company's well-being. The Pramuka Bank board never accepted responsibility for its action or accepted responsibility for inaccurate decision. In many instances, the Pramuka Bank board acted prudently with no regard for the interest of key stakeholders and violated CBSL regulation, labor laws and civil laws. And the next party is the Central Bank of the Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka Central Bank is the one of institution responsible for the stability of the country financial statement, but central bank failure to intervene until financial institution collapse. The next part is the auditing firm. The company was audited by KPMG. KPMG in Sri Lanka is the one of largest professional service firm that assists in the conducting an official financial audit of a company or its account. Pramuka Bank audited accounts did not reflect the true and fair side of its situation. Thank you. I would like to Buddhi to continue presentation.
Thank you, Nikki. Whether financial debt indicated such things. The collapse of Pramuka Bank began about 18 years ago. Depositors, the board of directors, and central bank officials have been working together to find a solution to the problem. The central bank tried to liquidate the Pramuka Bank, but the depositors pressured the court. So, after long and difficult legal dispute, an Act of Parliament transformed it into a saving bank of Sri Lanka. This is known as the biggest financial fraud in the history of Sri Lanka. An angry depositor, who declined to be named, said the repayment were not made regularly, and after 9 years, until 2016, he received only 38.75%. Next slide. That some of the depositors who have deposited large sum of money in the leading institution now have no hope of getting their money back. There was also whispered criticism of the way of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka monitors the activities of banks and financial institutions. Research has shown that Pramuka Bank's careless lending policy is responsible for many of the short-term assets in its books. There is also evidence that Pramuka banks are engaging in activities that seriously violate laws and regulations. Thank you. Now I invite Ravi Hansa to continue our presentation.
Thank you, Buddhi. One of them is related to the contribution of the Employees Provident Fund of the bank. It has invested in Pramuk Bank itself in the form of debentures and bonds. The managing director chaired the leading regulation and gave 2 million loan to the late MP Gamini Athuporala for property mortgage. The chairman of Pramuka Bank has also decided to invest 13.9% of the bank's capital in Pan Asia Banking Corporation, and this is completely contrary to the central bank investment policy. PSDB management has been negligent in assessing the borrower's ability to repay the loan. At the time of announcing the bank liquidation decision, more than 75% of the bank's assets were held by loans. PSDB has failed to meet the central bank's deadline for submitting audit financing. Thank you. I would like to invite Koindu to continue the presentation.
Thank you, Ravi Hansen. Next slide, please. Yes. Now we can discuss about the auditor's opinion, and there will be some, I mean, several points in 3 slides, and out of those several bullet points, I will talk about some of them briefly. I will briefly take you through all the some of the main points. And the first one is, I mean, that we have already discussed. The KPMG was the auditors of Pramuka Savings and Development Bank, and KPMG said in a statement that the bank's financial final audited accounts for the year ended on 31st March 2001. Actually, they were issued on 30th of August 2001. So yes, next slide, please. The details of this audit could not be disclosed to public due to some confidential reasons, and also further, the Pramuka Savings and Development Bank was not a public limited company, so that is why there was no probable reason to public the financial reports. Next slide, please. Yes. And also, senior partner of KPMG stated that auditors had qualified 5 issues in Pramuka's accounts and drawn attention to 15 matters for the year 2001 in August in the same year. And the other parties, the auditors had drawn their attention towards the involvement of 15 related parties in the bank at the time of the audit. So we are done with the auditor's opinion part, and we can move on to the next part. I would like to invite Samod to continue the presentation. Over to you, Samod.
Thank you. Breach of audit responsibility. Audit responsibility. Auditors should express their own opinion whether the subject matter is prepared in according to Sri Lanka accounting standard and management fairly presented. For the CA, Sri Lanka introduced professional ethical guidance for all auditors. Then auditors should follow them when doing the audit. The auditors of the Pramuka Bank is KPMG. Company management prepared their financial statements as window dressing. There was gap between actual value and financial statement values. But based on wrong financial statements, auditors did their audit. Auditors should not promote their client's opinion, then there was advocacy threat also. I would like to invite Prabhavi to continue our presentation. Thank you.
The my part is compromised ethical principles. There are mainly five ethical principles: integrity, objectivity, professional competency, and due care, confidentially, and the final one is professional behavior. When we are come to the first one, integrity. KPMG compromised the integrity. They did not do their works honestly. Objectivity. When they audit the Pramuka banks, we cannot say the auditors bias to the board of directors or management. Then they are not compromised objectivity. Professional competency and due care. There is a problem regarding to the professional competency and due care. KPMG breached this ethical principle. The fourth one is confidentially. Auditors had capacity, skill, and knowledge. Then they do not compromise this principle. Next slide. The last one is professional behavior. Comply with the laws and regulation. Then we can say KPMG not comply with the laws and regulations. Then they compromise these ethical principles also. But due to the failure of the Pramuka Bank, some people have argued KPMG also part of the failures because there is a window dressing in all financial statements which are made by the company. Auditors held their audit based on drawn financial statements. There is a huge problem with incorporation of bank also. Apart from that, Pramuka Bank had high non-performing ratio. It exceeded 75% and also had negative net worth of 230 million. Then they are indicators of the failures of the Pramuka Bank. Next slide. The finally we can say auditor is not a single position. It is a position with more responsibilities. Then auditor should not breach those responsibilities. If they are breached someone, it is lead to decrease their reputation also. This is the end of the presentation. Thank you for listening it.